The following Defending Our America episode is presented without commercial interruption by Sig Sauer.
Let me tell a little story about my buddy, I'll call him Omar. He's an Iraqi cop. He's the top counterterrorism guy in Iraq for the Iraqis, one of my best friends for the past decade. He describes America as a plate of honey. He says, America, every other country, we're all flies. Everybody is attracted to honey. That's it. And we all want what you have. The jihadists are more like bees, and they look for that honey, and they're gonna come to it. And we pour a little bit of that honey, put it in a little dish, and that's the military in Iraq. And that's what they come to. They attack because it's easy. It's easy to get to that little dish of honey because it's not as protected as that big dish. In Afghanistan, another little dish of honey, the American military on the ground in Afghanistan. Once you pull those little dishes back, you're putting them back in that big plate of honey.
They have no choice.
You are not taking away their desire. You're bringing their desire home. And this is an Iraqi talking, a guy that,
anything I've ever heard.
and he said, so once you bring those troops back, that's where you're going to defend against all those jihadists. They will never give up this fight. They have tasted blood.
Yep.
There's tens of thousands of them that have tasted blood in those conflicts, and they're occupied now in Syria. But once they've tasted that blood, they're coming after it here in America.
On the southwest border, that is why we are screaming so loud, is because what the average American citizen fails to realize is that the Hezbollah, who are allied with the Iranians, the Hezbollah are ass deep in Central America, South America, and Mexico. So the stage is already set. All it takes is a trigger event.
There was a radical takeover in Iran, and that started in 1979 and continued to this day. The leaders there are sincere about wanting to eliminate the West, and they're trying to get nuclear weapons to do it. That's on a state level. And on an individual level, you have lone gunmen. You have individuals like Hassan at Fort Hood, that he's an Islamic extremist. When you're screaming Allahu Akbar and you're killing innocent people, you're pretty much an Islamic extremist. I'm sorry, but that's the definition of it.
The Hezbollah being the state-sponsored terrorist organization of Iran, if the Hezbollah has a good foothold in Central and South America and the Mexican cartels are dealing with those groups down there, then there is some carryover there. And the other problem we have in how the Hezbollah ties in for the American that's saying, well, yeah, but that's down there, you know, they're not here. There's a video posted on YouTube that is two gang members from an LA-based gang called the Sureños. They're giving shout-outs to their homies back in Southern California. They're in Syria, and they're saying that basically they're putting in work, which for those who don't know what that means, for a gangbanger, putting in work means we're doing drive-bys, we're killing people, we're robbing people. That's what putting in work is. So these guys are saying, hey, homies, we're over here in Syria putting in work for our gang, the Sureños.
Go, Molly. They got the enemigas right there, homie. They're all right there, dog. But we don't give a f, homie. As you know, homie, and shout out, homie, Capone, Mr. Criminal from Silver Lake, homie, Capone from Cyclones. Let's put this down to all these homies.
One of these knuckleheads happens to have on his Facebook page himself in full Hezbollah garb. So he's directly connected to the Hezbollah organization. The Hezbollah organization directly connected to now the Sureños of Southern California. So now, average American tell me that there's a disconnect. That's a direct connect.
I think too many Americans have become complacent. 9/11 is a faded memory. We've got young people now who are nearing their teens who were infants then.
I worked very closely with the president of Somalia for several years, a man named Abdullahi Yusuf Ahmed, who, when he became the president, he mentioned to the U.S. State Department that, you know, your President George Bush started the war on terror, fighting Islamic extremism. I've been fighting Islamic extremists for 40 years. And he was a devout Muslim, did his prayers 5 times a day, was at Friday prayers at the mosque every week. That was his life. And he knew Islamic extremism was the problem. He knew it and he fought against it. They believe that the West is evil because they only believe in Sharia law. And so us having freedom and democracy is totally contrary to that. You cannot let the people decide. God has already decided. These are the rules. Man can't change those rules. And so they can't allow us to exist because they seek an Islamic reign over the world. And because that's what they seek, that's their end goal, that's what they are determined to have, because that's what they want to do, we can't do what we want to do.
You know, most Americans look at themselves and they think, I'm a nice guy, you know, I'm good people. Why do these people hate us? And truthfully, it's even beyond me. They are so fanatical in their hatred. Their lives have become consumed in hating America and what they can do to harm America and Americans.
This guy's responsible. He's the greatest terrorist hunter in the world. There's been articles written about him. He's killed more al-Qaeda than anybody else in the world. This guy knows al-Qaeda better than anybody. And he said it's not going to be a 9/11 attack. It's going to be 50 times 9/11 at a time. That's what you're facing. And I'm telling you, we are going to suffer the consequences. We're coming out of Afghanistan. Look at what's the hell that Iraq has become since we pulled out of there. We cannot defend America when we can't keep our promises to other people, when we set up places where we can have a base of operations in the Middle East to try and stabilize Iran, Syria, that whole neighborhood. Now it's collapsing, and that void is filled. That void is filled by al-Qaeda and by other influencers like Iran, and that influence is going to spread beyond that area, and the only place for it to come is Europe and America.
Next time on Defending Our America.
All these different things that happen across the world, they're all based on what they're going to be able to do in America. We've been talking about Mumbai incident for years and years before it happened. 10 soldiers in Mumbai completely annihilated their entire infrastructure.
The Kenya Mall massacre is very likely going to occur in this country to some extent anyway.
What did bin Laden say after the Beslan massacre? This will happen on your soil 5 times.
Anytime like you get a bunch of tech guys together, it's a resounding, we can't believe this hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.